Welcome to the Alexandra Wenman Show. I am back on my love island of Ibiza, where I seem to be frequenting these days, and I'm joined today by the ethereal Louise Kay. Louise, thank you so much for joining me. So can you tell our viewers a little bit about you and what you do, and why you're here on this love island at this time?
Yeah, so first, thank you for inviting me to be on your show. It's really nice to chat with you here in this magical, beautiful setting. It's so tranquil here.
It's lovely,
it's
isn't
amazing.
it?
So my name is Louise, and I channel a 9D Pleiadian collective. They call themselves Aikon, and I've been doing this for a few years now. And I travel around the world doing group events, channeling Aikon, and that's why I'm here in Ibiza. So.
And it was really magical how you came to be here, wasn't it? So synchronistic, because you're being hosted by a mutual friend of ours, Andrea Barneveld of Stellar Folk.
Yeah.
And how did you come to meet Andrea?
She actually found my videos on YouTube, and she really felt a resonance with Aikon's message, and she came to one of my channeling events in Amsterdam.
Oh.
So she experienced them live there. And she lives half the time, I think, in Amsterdam, but mostly in Ibiza. And she saw I was in Barcelona. I posted something online, and she sent me a message and said, "Hey, you're close by. If I organize an event, can you come to Ibiza?" So I decided to come. I felt the call in my heart to be here, and it's been amazing.
Because that's often how you operate, I know, and definitely how I operate. When you get the call to be somewhere, and when it's sort of aligned, it just feels right. And we just happen to be here at the same time, both running events on the island. So how fantastic that we're crossing paths. But this wasn't what you always did, was it? You used to be a teacher, am I correct?
Yeah, I used to teach English as a foreign language.
Fantastic. Did you travel with that skill as well?
A little bit, yeah. I worked in Italy for 3 years, and I traveled a bit around the UK. And I really enjoyed that at the time. It was a lot of fun because I got to meet people from all over the world, and also now I still get to do that, which is really nice.
Kept the good bit.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. And how did it begin for you, the channeling? How did you find out that you had this gift? Is it something that you consciously developed, or is it something that just happened to you sort of synchronistically?
Yeah, it kind of just happened to me. I think there were a lot of events and a kind of process leading up to the moment when the channeling started, which was maybe a kind of preparation for my system to open in that way. So I'd already become aware of the spiritual path, and I'd been meditating and having ESP experiences, which also started spontaneously for me. That's extrasensory perception. So I was having out-of-body experiences, seeing auras, seeing past lives of people, this kind of thing. And I'd been researching about it to understand more. And I actually went to India, and there I experienced a deeper spiritual awakening. And it was a very profound experience for me, and that really changed my life. And it was clear that I wasn't going back to teaching after I'd done that. I knew that my path had changed, just I didn't know what I was going to do then.
And how did that experience play out for you? Could you share a few of the details? I mean, I know that awakenings can be very personal, so you don't have to go too personal, but it'd be wonderful
I'm happy to share everything.
Hear your experience. Fantastic. So
I love to share my experience with other people, and many times I think it's nice for others to hear someone's been through a similar journey, especially if they don't have people they can relate to in their own life. So I was attending satsang with a spiritual teacher that's very dear to my heart in India, and it was a kind of guided meditation process, and it was a form of self-inquiry. So the teacher was pointing to recognizing who you are and inquiring who you are, and I was following this process. And as I did so, at one point suddenly it's a little hard to put into words because it's a little beyond words, but the best I can describe is that my mind, I felt like my mind exploded. My mind was gone. There was a transcending the mind experience, and a feeling of recognition that everything is one, and connection to all things. And after I experienced that, I started to perceive reality in a different way, more like it's like a dream happening, and it never really left me, this recognition of what I would call my true nature. And I think the process continues, and it's more now of a deepening into that.
Beautiful, so beautifully put. Yeah, it's very familiar and gorgeous. And how about Aikon? So it's spelt differently to how you expect, isn't it? It's Aikon. Yeah. It's interesting. I have a few guides that end in on, like Brigon the Arcturian, and Cryon has the on at the end as well. I wonder if there is a significance about that. Do you know anything if there is? Or?
They've never mentioned that, but it is interesting.
Good question.
I never noticed it until you pointed it out. It could be that there's a certain frequency in that sound. That would be my guess.
Switching on, waking up, I suppose. It's probably like the 11:11, that resonance. Amazing. And Aikon, so explain a little bit about Aikon. I'd love to hear more. I mean, you can feel their energy is pretty special.
Yeah, it is.
And it's a collective consciousness, am I right?
Yeah, they're a Pleiadian collective. Actually, their name is not Aikon. They don't have a name. They just use that for our purpose, so that we have...
Because we need labels, right?
To refer to, And their message really is one of empowerment and love, and they want to support us to get in touch with our own inner knowing, which many of us actually have access to. But what I'm finding many times when I work with people is that the inner knowing is there, the intuition is there, but people are not really fully trusting it yet. And Aikon's message, they want to empower people to trust that and know that they have all the answers inside of themselves. And they also want to support people to recognize their true nature. So a kind of disidentification with the egoic mind. And they also support people in transformation. So they guide people through a process to access deep wounds in the system and traumas in the energetic body, and really hold a loving space for that energy so that it can integrate.
Beautiful. And how would you describe the experience that you went through as you sort of came from sort of normal everyday 3D waking life into this ability to channel? Did you find it quite difficult to transition into the work that you're doing now, or did you just step straight into it? Did it feel like the most natural kind of step, or I suppose you go through an integration process?
Yeah, when I was in India, it was clear that I didn't want to teach English anymore. And I didn't know what I was going to do at that point. And I actually made a prayer, and I really felt like I wanted to do work that was really aligned for me. And I didn't care what it was, actually. I just was kind of surrendered to the divine, to the universe. And I asked, please show me whatever it is that you want me to do. And I'm here, and I want to do that. I'm available for that, whatever it is. If you show me, I'll do it. And I really meant it. It really came from my heart. It was a really strong desire that I had. And the next day I was meditating, and something opened up here, and I just knew I was channeling. It just felt really natural. And it felt like my prayer had been answered instantaneously almost, which was pretty amazing. And I started doing it more and more every day just because it was so much fun.
Yeah.
And I was really enjoying it. And it didn't take very long for me to realize, well, actually, I can do this for my work. I asked to be shown how I can work, and this came, and it just kind of naturally led to me doing this. It was a very organic process. And I started just doing it for friends. They were asking just for fun. And then I started putting videos on YouTube. And that's really when a lot of people found my work, and it started to grow very, very fast. And I'm really grateful. It's been a tremendous adventure for me and a tremendous learning curve for me. I've learned a lot, and I'm still learning, and I'm still growing myself. And it feels like as I do, the channeling kind of changes with me.
Yeah, and kind of carries you forward as well. So it's that thing, you can tell that you're always supported. As long as you're following that calling and following your heart, you'll be guided to the next place and the next place and the next place.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that this is a benevolent universe, and it's supporting us in every moment. And even when we're faced with challenges, there are always gifts for us to show us something that maybe we're not seeing, something we need to learn so that we can grow.
And are you aware of any kind of personal history with this particular Pleiadian collective connection? Did you have past lives with these beings, or do you know why you open to channel this particular collective?
Somebody asked that once, actually, and the answer they gave was that they chose to work with me because the way that my system's oriented or wired, or the information that's here, is a very close match for what the energy that they want to share. It's compatible. And
so you're the right vessel, I suppose. The right computer mainframe to filter through.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing I love about channeling, or how I've experienced it and how it works, is that we do have a human filter. We can't help it because we are human beings and we're in a human body. So it's like being an interpreter in many ways as well, isn't it? It's like you're open to channel, but the more open and trusting you are, the clearer the message, and the more pure that message is that's going to come through.
Yeah.
So do you have a special preparation that you do before an event or before you open to channel? Do you have protocols that you go through? And
I just meditate, and I go into meditation before I connect with Aikon. And my technique, if you want to call it technique, I don't like to say that because I feel it's not really a technique. It's more connecting with the natural state of being. So I bring my energy very present into my body, and I observe the thoughts, if thoughts are coming and going, and I connect to the space of stillness, of being, and I relax deeper into that, and I set the intention to connect with Aikon so that they know that I want to communicate with them. And I kind of feel them coming in, and many times I start coughing before. I think maybe my throat chakra starts clearing. It looks a little bit strange if people haven't seen channeling before, because my face sometimes, I have my eyes closed, and my face sometimes starts twitching when the energy is changing somehow. I don't understand the science behind it, really. I don't know what's happening, but my body starts to move differently, and my voice changes when I start channeling.
So you'll have direct voice channel where they come in and they actually physically speak through.
No, I don't think so. I think it's just the connection with that energy somehow affects how I speak. And my mannerisms change, and how I speak's different. So it's a little bit shocking and strange the first time people see it, if they're not used to that.
And for you, when it first started, did you feel a reluctance to, how was it? Did you just go with it? It felt amazing? Or did part of you kind of go, how is this going to be perceived in the 3D world? How did your family and friends react when you stepped out into this work?
Yeah, it is a little bit far out for people. So I'm kind of mindful who I share it with, and the way that I share about what I do, I change it based on what I feel is appropriate for that situation. So sometimes I might just tell people I'm a meditation teacher or something like that, if I feel like they don't really have an understanding of what I'm doing. Well, my family are pretty open. They try to understand as much as they can, which is really nice.
That's great. And where are your family based? Are you originally from the UK?
Yeah. From the northwest in Lancashire.
Because you have this beautiful mixed accent, so presumably that's from all the travel and then I guess all the interpretation of light language and other sorts of languages that aren't of this planet as well. You take on an abundance of different qualities, I suppose, don't you? Starts to, you know, that essence of light that comes through really starts to shift you as well.
Yeah, my accent's
it's really lovely,
really mixed up, and it keeps changing. I spend most of my time now with non-native English speakers, so I kind of pick up bits of different accents, and it's all merged as one, as this strange accent that nobody can identify, and people are always asking me, where are you from? What accent is that?
You. I think it's a sign of things to come, though, isn't it? Like, because I always see the world as we are going to have a world, we're going to have a beautiful heart-centered world where there won't be any borders and there won't be any boundaries and there won't be any countries or need for passports, or, you know, maybe we will have this sort of global mixture of accents, or, you know, where we can't be placed, you know, you can't be put in a box anymore, which I think is wonderful.
We'll just become citizens of planet Earth,
citizens of the Earth, or citizens of the galaxy, or citizens of the universe, which I think is what more and more of us are becoming aware of, right? I always liken it to you know, growing up in a small town. If you think that's your whole world until you move to a bigger city, and then you realize that the world is a bigger place, and then you start traveling and realize the world is a bigger place, and then for the likes of you and I, we realize that, oh, actually it's quite a bit bigger, this universe, than you initially think, and you start to learn more about who you are and what's really going on. And the more we know, the more you realize you only know a tiny portion, really, in the grand scheme of things.
The more you know, the more you realize you don't know.
You don't know, exactly. I love it.
And that's the best place to be, actually, when we realize, actually, we know nothing.
We know nothing, but it's wonderful. And I love that humility, I think, is a quality that makes for a really good channel, because you're not trying to put your own stamp on things, or you're not trying to shoehorn in an opinion, or you know, you can't be kind of stuck in your ways, if you will, because when you're in that humility and that knowledge that actually I'm, you know, from this perspective, I'm very, you know, I can be very limited, so when you open up and let come through whatever needs to, it can really shift your perspective. So in terms of like channeling, obviously there's a lot of people on the planet at the moment realizing they have these gifts and opening to channel, and it's become channeling has become quite a buzzword recently. So why do you think there are so many people at the moment opening to channel, do you think?
Well, Aikon say that there's a shift in consciousness happening on our planet right now, and there's a transformation happening. And when I look around, I really see it with my own eyes. I really believe that it's true. I mean, yoga is becoming commonplace. They've started doing mindfulness practice in schools with in the UK. They're doing it with the little kids. And I saw that there were some politicians meeting from different countries, and they started their meeting with mindfulness practice. So people are becoming more conscious about what they eat and the source of where they get their food, and the importance of protecting our planet and the effects of destruction that we're seeing. And it's wonderful to be part of this blossoming of humanity, and I feel really excited to be working to support people to really align with their own truth and follow their heart, and just bring more peace and harmony to our planet, because for so many years now we've been at war and fighting, and I think everybody's tired of that.
Everyone's fed up, right?
We're ready for some happiness and some peace. And it's gonna come from within each of us. It's not something that we need to really do on the outside. That's secondary from my perspective. First of all, we need to find peace on the inside our own hearts, and then the natural effect is that we'll live that peace and it will express itself through us.
I think the word is gratitude for it. The more you see it unfolding, and you realise then that you have the power within yourself to shift your outer world by shifting your perception of what things really are, and remembering that actually each one of us is the centre of our own universe. So, I'm the centre of my universe. I see the world and the universe through my experiences, my programming, my the way I was raised, all those thoughts and feelings, some from many lifetimes, and you see the world from your perspective. And the more we start to see that each of us just has our own unique perspective, the more we can see through the eyes of unconditional love. Because when people are behaving badly, even the worst people that you see on the news or committing acts of atrocity, my understanding of that and the way I see that is that they're really just coming from a perspective where they're somehow lacking in love, or they feel disconnected from that truth of who they are, that energy of who they really are. And for some that can be really frightening. But if we heal the fear, if we look within and heal the fear that outer activity triggers in each of us, then we would truly heal the planet. Right? Yeah. No need to fight, no need to defend, no need to tear down each other's walls or build up each other's walls.
I think when people are acting violently or aggressively, it's just because there's so much suffering inside of them that it's spilling over and it can't be contained. So when we recognize that, it allows us to feel actually deep compassion for other people, and we can end the cycle of violence by connecting with the compassion and the love in our hearts. And when we see it in our friends or our family, we can use even small, what may seem a small insignificant moment, we can make big changes actually to other people's lives just by being there for people and saying, I understand that you're feeling pain right now, or you're feeling suffering. I'm here for you. I want you to know that I'm here for you, and you're beautiful, and I love you.
And I see that truth in you. That's gorgeous. But what about Louise, the person? Because you're still a human being and you still are a resident of planet Earth. So, while you're following your calling, are there things that you still want to do? Are there goals that you have in terms of where you'd like to see your work go and where you'd like to live? Because obviously you've lived in many places. Is there anything that you'd like to do next, or you'd like to expand into?
Well, it's been a childhood dream of mine to go to California, and
come in February.
I'm actually going in December for the first time, so I'm really excited about that. And I love to travel. I love to see new places and meet new people. So I hope I can continue doing this and working with more and more people to support them on their journeys. And that's all I ask for, really. I feel so grateful that I can do this work that I love so much that it feels like I'm not even working anymore. And I get to travel and meet so many amazing people. I feel so blessed.
So in terms of other people watching this who are budding channels or even just starting out on their spiritual journey, what advice would you give them in developing their own gifts?
I think the most important piece of advice that I have for people is to recognize what you are beyond the idea of who you think you are. And I'll explain a little bit what I mean about that. As we go through life, we create an identity and a story of who we are. We pick up many different labels and we identify ourselves with this label. So it could be, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a friend, I'm a mother, I'm a student, and these labels are always changing, but there's an identity, and there is an essence to our being which is unchanging. And as the labels change and our experiences in life change, that which perceives is always constant. It's always unchanging. So I would encourage people to look within themselves and start to question, what is my true nature? Who am I? What am I? And to discover the unchanging presence of your being, in which all experience arises, that in which all thoughts arise, that in which all emotions arise, and these things come and go. But what is it that's always there, and it's eternal? And once there is a recognition of that, to turn the attention towards that and rest as that in being, which is our natural state. And what tends to happen is that there's a lot of agitation inside people's system, in the energy body, and when there's agitation, there's a desire to move away from that. And what people say or what they do many times comes from this energy of agitation. And if that is met and allowed, there can be a transcendence of it. And beyond the agitation, it could also be depression or anger. Underlying it is a deep peace and a deep stillness. And once that's been accessed, then words and actions can flow from that place of deep connection, of deep stillness. And that's when life feels like it's in a natural flow. It feels like it's really aligned, and it becomes like actually there's nothing to do. It's more like an allowing and a resting in that state, and then a following of a subtle pull from the heart, which is like a guidance of where to go or what to say in each moment or how to respond. And it becomes like a magical dance with life. Yeah, it depends where we turn our attention towards. So if our attention is always focused on the outside, and it's in seeking mode, what can I get to feel whole? What can I achieve? What can I obtain? What can I buy? So that I can fulfill myself, whether it's food, alcohol, drugs, the perfect partner, my twin flame, becoming famous, becoming rich. And these things might bring us happiness for a very short time, but it's not gonna be a lasting happiness, because it's not possible to feel complete and whole from anything that's outside of us. It can only be found within.
And how do you think the ability to channel can help people to access that place if they were to develop their own channeling connection?
I don't feel it's necessary to channel in order to access that place. That place is accessible to everybody,
of course,
in every moment, because it's our true nature. And some people are more predisposed towards channeling, and usually I find with the people that I meet, the ones that are predisposed towards it, like their system's wired in that way, they usually have a kind of pull, a desire. It's fun for them, they want to play with it, and if they feel that call in their heart, I would say go for it, explore, read, watch videos. There's so much material out there now. But some people, that's not their path. There's something else that's more aligned for them. And the way to find the path that's going to bring you the most personal happiness and joy is by tuning in to what brings you joy, what brings you happiness, and acting on that, following that excitement in every moment. And there are many different ways to channel, actually.
You can channel your higher self, can't you?
Yeah, people can channel in the form that I do, but even like a basketball player, for example, if you watch how they move on the court, it's a form of channeling. They're connected to some higher source that's moving their body in a magical, beautiful way.
And artists,
singers,
poets,
musicians, many scientists also, I think Einstein.
Oh, of course, yeah, he talked about it, didn't he? That was how he was actually playing with consciousness. A lot of the scientists used to do experiments in expanding their consciousness, and they would do this thing where they would hold I can't remember which one it was. They would hold a rubber ball in their hand and see how deep into trance they could go without dropping the ball.
Yeah.
And the minute they would have a metal plate or something that would make a loud noise, so that if they dropped the ball they would jolt out of it. But they would see how deep they could go whilst remaining consciously aware of what was going on around them, or whilst being able to monitor their thoughts so that they could download higher knowledge and higher information.
Yeah.
So it was like a test of, and every time they did it, it's stretching their consciousness more and more and more, so becoming more and more attuned to that deep state, or that expanded state, to bring through that pure knowledge, that pure wisdom.
I heard many people who have these genius ideas for humanity, they receive it like 4 a.m. and they wake up and they're in an altered state of consciousness between wake and sleep, and it comes from that space where the mind, the egoic mind, is not fully awake yet.
And of course channeling, it doesn't have to be in words or even in an action. It can just be a quality, or like we have a lot of new healing systems on the planet which aren't actually new. They're ancient wisdom, I suppose. But the more we open to that, it's like you're just holding light for the planet, right? It's just, you're just holding peace. You're just embodying that pure essence. And the more of us that wake up, it's like little lights going on. To look at it from space would be like stars shining. So in terms of your work, do you actually teach people how to channel, or do you work one-on-one with people? What sorts of sessions and workshops do you offer and events?
I do channeling sessions with people on Skype and in person and at group events, and I also do what I call embodied awareness with people, which is sitting in a space of presence together and bringing the attention into the body and following the breath and resting as awareness, and from that space whatever comes up that wants to be met or explored, we explore it together. And occasionally I teach channeling. If people, probably I'll get a load of emails now after saying this, but if people contact me and they really feel in their heart that they want to start channeling and there's a predisposition for it, and I feel it's true for me to work with them, then sometimes I do channeling lessons, but it's not on my website. The secret's out now.
Well, you reserve the right to say no if you don't want to, or it doesn't feel right. But in terms of your contact details and your website, how can people find out more? What's your YouTube channel, your website?
Well, you can find me on YouTube if you just search in YouTube Louise Kay channeling or Louise Kay channeling Aikon. You can also get to it through my website, which is louisekay.net.
And Instagram is at Louise Kay Official, am I right?
Yes.
Started following you.
That's right, yes. So
you.
Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I also started a group on Facebook called Louise Kay and Aikon Community.
Oh, lovely.
Because a lot of people were contacting me or working with me and expressing that they felt they would like to have in their lives other people to discuss these things with. And
it's really important, I think.
It's really important. So I wanted to create this group where people can share and support each other, and it's for people that enjoy Aikon's teachings or they enjoy my sharings. And I also chat in that group with people, so join us on there and share your experiences. I love to hear from everyone.
Yeah, check out Louise on Facebook and her website, and you can check out Stellar Folk on Facebook as well, and I think it's stellarfolk.org. So for further events on there, and the wonderful Andrea Barneveld. And Louise, thank you so much for talking to me today. Lovely. Can I get you a hug?
Yes.
So thank you for watching the Alexandra Wenman Show.
Thank you all very much for sharing with us, for connecting with us in this way today. It was a great joy for us to experience you. We wish to remind you
that you are divine gods and goddesses. And it's time now for you to fully step into your power. We see you doing this. It's time for you to believe in yourselves. It's time for you to trust your inner knowing. It's time for you to take action and follow your highest excitement. Because the planet needs you right now. The planet and also the inhabitants. The planet itself needs you because it is in a state of destruction. And it needs your love and your care. And you, with open consciousness and open heart, you have the capacity to bring back balance to your planet. Lead by example, show the way. Not in an egotistical way, by telling everybody, listen to me, I have all the answers, I know what to do. You should follow me. Because that will just push people away. You can do it in silence, by simply remaining centered in your heart and living by example. And the people will come to you and they will ask you, what are you doing? You're so at peace. You're living in such harmony. I want to understand. I want to be around you. It feels good to be around you. I want to know what you're doing. Let them, the ones that are ready, come. And they will come more and more because this transformation is speeding up now. And that's why we're sharing this with you. Because you are part of this transformation. And you are here to support others. In whatever way, this divine creativity wishes to express itself through you. Do not allow your fears to hold you back. It's time now for you to move forward. It is a great honor for us to interact with you in this way. You are beautiful. We love you very much. We send you many blessings. And we leave you now, dear friends. Goodbye. Hello.
Hi.